the American Sports Cavalcade.
20 years ago, you'd have had a hard time convincing the builders of the Houston Astrodome that someday the pre-event festivities would consist of a pickup truck parade. You'd had a pretty hard time convincing them that 20 years in their future, one of the best attended events would feature multi-engine tractors and supercharged 4x4 trucks pulling a huge lead sled. Well, all of that has come to pass. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans, and welcome to the Houston Astrodome for the TNT Redman Supernationals, a three-ring circus of mechanized mayhem. Well, as the festivities continue and the crowd pours into the Astrodome, let's go outside to Paul Page.
Well, Steve, in this part of Texas, where the likes of A.J. Foyt come from, they like their motors big, loud, and powerful. This one is 705 cubic inches. It's mounted in this four-wheel drive pickup. It's a 6,200-pound machine. And then, of course, the old standby, the tractor. Take a look at this one. Twin inline Rodex. 5,800 pounds. Those two motors are developing over 2,000 horsepower. And we've got 13 of these, the monster trucks. They're crowd pleasers. Everybody loves them. And I'll tell you, when you're riding in one of these, you are definitely up in the air and off the ground. So no question about it, we've got some action lined up.
Well, Paul, the monster truck action actually started earlier today during Bigfoot's qualifying run. Rich Hooser, the driver, and you talk about a tense moment. Take a look at this. Bigfoot, the Bob Chandler creation, the most famous monster truck of them all. In fact, the one that really started all the excitement. Here's our onboard camera, and you're about to go for a ride. Oh! Almost tipped over 5 tons of truck, Paul Page.
Yeah, but with a skillful bit of driving, he got the thing back on its 4 feet and came down to complete the other half of the course. Bigfoot, really a showpiece for the people here at the Astrodome. When the run was complete, Steve Evans talked with Rich Hooser.
I don't know what it looked like from your vantage point, but I thought that truck maybe was going over.
Yeah, that corner, I wasn't thinking with all the sand out here. I thought I was being able to spin it around real quick and hit that hill, but it really grabs tight. And when it did, and it started to go over, the only thing I could do is I turned the tires to the right and nailed it, and it was pull me out. Then to keep from going out of bounds, I had to stop and back up so I could finish the race so I could still qualify.
Bit frightening?
Just a little bit, but not too bad.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Not too bad for him, terrifying for the rest of us. Well, they've laid out 2 courses here as we're ready to go for the 4x4 pickup 6,200-pound class. We'll be concentrating on the course closest to us.
And, of course, the magic words in this sport, Paul, are full pull. And the distance for the 4x4 trucks will be 300 feet. That's the back door, as they say, 300 feet, the length of a football field. Charlie Lowe, Killer 2, is the first to hook to the weight transfer device that most of us just call a sled.
Charlie comes out of West Palm Beach, Florida. The Killer 2 is really an 85 Ford Ranger, but it's got a Boss 429 Hemi on board. 560 cubic inches.
Charlie's got a good pull going. See the weight transfer box moving forward on the sled. That makes it more difficult to pull. Charlie Lowe, short of a full pull. This is the first year, though, that he has been driving. Paul, he started about 5 years ago sponsoring a truck, and the bug has bitten Charlie pretty hard. 288.26 feet is the pull, and that's the distance that all the other drivers and trucks in the class will have to contend with.
Of course, the idea here, besides being skillful at getting the machine down the track and preparing the machine well, is to find that section of the track in which you can get the greatest bite. Now, if you take a look here, he's down the right side of the track. Apparently, he walked and he decided this was exactly where he wanted to be, but it only took him down 288.26. I think there's some guys back in the line that'll take some shots at that.
And it'll be interesting to see, Paul, if they elect to run on his tracks or move elsewhere on the pulling surface.
And, of course, just as soon as one pull is complete, the next man moves into line. Coming up now, Fernando Narz from Laredo, Texas, in his 4x4.
This is his first year of pulling, Paul, and he already has about 15 events under his belt and has won a couple of them. It's a 1986 Chevrolet, and listen to the engine size here. 604 cubic inches. The old adage, there's no substitute for cubic inches, is very true in the pulling sport.
And, of course, Steve, when you're talking that much horsepower, you have to be very careful. Now, they're hooking up here, and you saw that wire hooked onto the back of the 4x4. That's the kill switch, the dead man switch. If that thing would come loose, then it will shut everything down immediately so everybody is safe.
Great-looking Chevrolet truck with a real husky driver at the wheel, the truck owner, Fernando Narz. Now, right now, he is selecting a gear there, Paul. They don't shift gears during the pull, and they've got a variety of gears in these transmissions. And he just hopes he finds the right one for the track conditions, the weight of the sled.
Pulls out, takes up the slack now, eyes that track. He, of course, like the others, have watched what has gone before, walked the track. Now he pours the power of the machine. The weight transfer box comes forward. He's got a good pull going. Now the engine begins to strain just a bit, and he grinds to a stop. Not quite as far as before. Look at those rear wheels spin. Narz with 279.17 feet. Now his machine is named La Paloma, which of course means the dove, a rather gentle name for so much horsepower. Here we look again. Again, everyone seems to have decided that the right side of the course is the way to go, but you can see here he begins to drift across into the center and actually turning almost for the left side. Now the back wheels begin to pick up plenty of dirt from the track as they bog down and begin to build a hole. So Narz at 279.17. Steve?
Well, you missed by just a few feet. You were 279 feet compared to 288 from Charlie Lowe.
Well, I was going to change gears, but I didn't have enough chance to do it, and I just did the best I could right now.
Speaking of gears, how would you differ the gear ratios of the differentials fore and aft, front and back?
Well, for this kind of track that is hooking pretty good, I would have gone to a lower gear, but by the time I got to see the truck, other trucks hook, it was too late for me to change it.
Nice effort. Thank you.
But there's still plenty of time for others to make changes. Here's Tony Ostein. He's watched that run. Now he checks out the track, trying to decide which side is best.
We're back at the Houston Astrodome for the TNT Redman Supernationals. That is Ron Hickson, and he has a very important job. He controls that giant weight transfer device that hooks to the 6,200-pound 4x4 truck. The next to pull, Paul Bates, is Tony Ostein of the Georgia Rebel.
Tony Ostein comes out of West Greene, Georgia. Now he is shooting at a mark of 288.26 feet.
Now, you'll notice, Paul, that he has opted for the left-hand side of the pulling surface. We've not seen anybody over there yet. That is fresh territory.
Of course, Tony, you saw him a little bit earlier, was watching the first two pulls. Now, he has to shoot at 288 feet and decided the left side may just hold the horsepower a little bit better.
Tremendous momentum for Ostein, Paul. This is a very nice pull, keeping the truck straight as is humanly possible. If it gets cockeyed, it's going to slow. He's done it. He has exceeded the mark of 288. In fact, he has pulled 292.52 feet. He'll be a happy man, I think.
So the left side of the course apparently working well. In the few minutes that he spent watching everybody else and walking down the course has paid off for Tony Ostein as he shuts the machine down. Let's take a look at this run once again. Here, we start with as low a gear as we can. You don't change gears. You select the one that you think will do the job, and he lays the power in it. As we look at the end of the course, it finally starts to dig in. So Tony Ostein now has the mark to shoot at 292.5. He's with Steve Evans.
Well, Paul, Tony is just shy of a full pull, as you can see, but you did take over the lead in the class. Nice straight pass.
Yeah, it felt real good. I think it's going to hold a little while. I'll just have to wait and see what the track does.
Is it an advantage to pull early on this track or not?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Sometimes it's a real advantage to pull last, so I don't know if this will be the case this time.
Well, it doesn't appear to be tearing up as badly as I've seen them do before.
No, sir, it feels real good right now.
Okay, good job, Tony.
So the track is holding the power, and Tony Ostein now has the mark to beat at 292.52 feet. Well, Jerry Weaver is climbing in. He's ready to go. But while he buckles in, let's go a little bit earlier with Steve Evans at the scales.
Here at the scales, the officials are checking in the 4x4 trucks in the 6,200-pound class. The pulling sport is interesting in that weight is an advantage. In most forms of motorsports, everybody trying to get their machines as light as possible. Here they want them as heavy as possible. You're only allowed to weigh a maximum of 6,200 pounds. Many-time champion Jerry Weaver has his truck on the scale. He's on the scale as well because they're always weighed with a driver. And Jerry, she's just about 140 pounds light.
Well, some more.
All right, he's got one of these big suitcase weights. How much does this weigh?
85.
All right, that's 85 pounds. Okay, get back on the scale. Let me check this out. Okay, 61, 60. She is still, according to the scales here, about 40 pounds light. Anything you can do?
That's all the weight I brought with me. A lot of times these scales weigh that way. They vary from pole to pole, but I might have to go borrow one. I hate to be 40 pounds light.
How big a disadvantage would that be?
Like I said, 15 pounds I could probably live with, but 40, I'm going to go borrow one.
And have a big dinner to go along with it, right?
Yeah, that'd work.
All right, thanks, Jerry.
Of course, we could also volunteer Steve Evans to just sit up in the back. Well, Jerry Weaver found the weight necessary, and he is now ready to go the distance to beat. You see it there, 292.52 feet.
Jerry is out of Thornville, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus, and the only other racing, Paul, he did before he got involved in tractor pulling was go-karts. The go-kart didn't weigh much more than the bumper on this truck. All right, here's Jerry Weaver. You see those big kind of paddle-like tires, and he slowly feeds it the power. He's not just stomping down all at once with this 600 cubic inch engine.
The engine roars, the power applied. He's got a good pull going. The track holding very well. They've done a good job now. It begins to bog down and digs in. And Weaver at 283.27. So the man to beat is still Tony Ostein at 292.52 feet. Jerry Weaver, not quite good enough here in the Houston Astrodome. Down the course and beginning to buckle in is Ken Popham. They call him Pappy. The machine is the Milky Way. Down at the other end of the course, Steve Evans is with Jerry Weaver.
Well, Jerry, everyone was saying if anybody could knock Ostein's number off the board, it was you, but just a bit short.
I kind of, to be real truthful with you, I kind of loused the start up on this Nationwide truck tonight.
How'd you do that?
I came out of it and got on it real quick, and it just spun the tires. I lost traction, and then I got back into it and hooked up. But that one split second ruined it.
If you could go back in the line and tell a friend how to drive this track, what would you tell him?
I can really give him a lot of help right now.
What would you tell him?
Tell him to ease it out coming out of the hole and then get on it.
Thanks.
Well, there's some advice that Papy Popham could use, but unfortunately, he's already buckled in and ready to go and does not have advantage of that information. Now, Pappy started driving about 8 years ago in the tractors, then moved up to the trucks.
You know, the truck you mentioned, Paul, is called the Milky Way. Well, that's appropriate because Ken Popham is in the dairy business down in his home state of Texas. There's a giant hook being attached to the very sturdy eye on the back of the truck. And as soon as the kill switch is connected and they get an okay from the officials on the sled, we will see our next puller, Papy Popp.
The distance to beat, Tony Ostein's 292.5 feet. You know, the nice thing about the tractor pull here in the Astrodome, like most motorsports, it's not only a visual show, but the noise these things make is absolutely terrific. It really adds to the enjoyment.
Well, they should make some noise, Paul. Almost 600 cubic inches of Chevrolet under the hood of this truck on methanol or alcohol fuel. The mix is close to 1,000 horsepower, but I don't think it's enough here. Nah, he's short.
If anything, perhaps just a little too much. 270.99 feet for Papy Popham, not nearly enough. It is still Tony Ostein at 292.5 that leads in the pull. Still, there are plenty of competitors back in the line in the 6,200-pound 4x4 pickup trucks. As we take a look at the leaderboard to this point, Tony Ostein's Georgia Rebel is the leader at 292.5 feet. At the far end of the strip now, Steve Evans is with Papy Popham.
Ken, I know you had the hammer down, but just about a truck length short.
Yeah, we had the wrong gear in tonight. We just had a little too high gear in.
You know, you're not the only driver that's told me that. That appears to be pretty unanimous. They'd all go put a lower gear in it now if they could.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'd like to thank TNT and Red Man for having me anyway.